What's going on, guys? This is Joe. As you can see, I have an Amonkhet pre-release kit. I'm going to start to open this up while I talk to you guys about what this video is. Usually we open up pre-release kits on this channel on pre-release night. Usually you hear the players in the background, etc. It's the first chance to look at this stuff, and it's always a lot of fun. I'm going to link that video either up at the top or probably just at the end for all of you to watch. I'll actually probably just put up the playlist of us opening Amonkhet stuff. But in the spirit of opening some other interesting things on this channel, or doing some other interesting things on this channel, I decided that I wanted to do some pre-release kit openings outside of just at the pre-release. You can see our little Lazatep die here. I love this D20, this spin down. It's really cool. It's different. It's been a while where they had us have all 5 colors, and you had to try to, I personally tried to get all 5 colors, but it was very repetitive. It was getting a little old. So now we have the Lazatep D20s. The holder was kind of cool. We talked about that in our other video, so I won't harp on that for too long. But we had a draft video last week. This week we have this opening. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and we're going to open these, and then why not? We will see if it's pretty easy, if it's difficult. We'll see how it works. We'll see if we can try to make a deck out of these 6 packs plus our promo and see what we get. So here's the Welcome Initiates, here's the 5 trials, but more importantly, our promo foil is the Oracle's Vault. Not an amazing card, but it's pretty good. You know what? In sealed, it does work. I had this played against me at a pre-release, and I was not happy about it. As usual with the promo foils, I'm not taking it out of the package, especially because we're definitely, like, we may be making a deck out of it, and we may say, hey, this goes in our deck. But, yeah, if you're aggressive, this definitely doesn't go in your deck, just to kind of talk about that. But if not, this can get you some good card advantage. It's a lot of mana investment because it's 4 to play and then 2 to use each time. But then once you have it, you're just playing cards for free after a while, and that's just crazy. So, yeah, this card's great. I like it in sealed a lot. Like I said, we have 6 packs. Let's get into the first one. It's an Amonkhet-Pre pack. See what we get. See if there's anything good for us. I'll try to, as I'm going through, organize these a little bit so that we can look at them a little bit easier later. Let's see. Okay. So we have Ancient Crab, Desert Ceradon for some cycling, Forsake the Worldly, speaking of cycling, Compelling Argument, even with cycling, that card's not good, Wander in Death, so lots of cycling, one right after the other, technically not counting the Ancient Crab. Greater Sandworm for more cycling, Cycling in the River Serpent, wow, Unwavering Initiate, so here's some Embalm, Sun-Scorched Desert for a desert land, a Bone Picker is our first uncommon, and a pretty sweet one, black uncommon, and it's a flyer. Ronus's Monument for our first monument. So if we go green, it makes them cheaper, but don't forget the second ability is whenever you cast any creature spell. So here's Ronus's Monument and Seraph of the Suns. It's a little expensive, but it's a 4/4 flying indestructible. It blocks really well, and if they have nothing in the air, it can deal them 4 damage every turn and put them on a 5-turn clock. And our rare or mythic is a Prepare to Fight. This card doesn't automatically say that we're in white and or green, but it's pretty good. It's a great white. The prepare part is a great combat trick, and fight is just fight. It's, you know, hunt the weak, 4 mana, target creature fights another creature, which is fine. It's kind of a lot to get to that removal spell, but it's not bad. So there's Prepare to Fight. Behind that, anything else? Yeah. What? Okay. Hey. Did I mention at the beginning? I think I did. But pre-release kits are my favorite type of sealed product. If I didn't mention that, they are. This is why. Harsh Mentor is being talked about a lot for Eternal formats. I don't know that it's good in sealed, but I don't really care. I just got a foil Harsh Mentor out of this pre-release kit. And that's the other cool thing about pre-release kits is you get really good stuff, usually. Foil Harsh Mentor is something I will not complain about. I don't know that it's going in our deck, but I also don't know that that matters. And the foiling pattern is great. The background looks cool. The kind of accent here on the back of his robe and his staff look really awesome in foil. So there you go. And again, like I said, this is being talked about in Eternal formats because of its ability you know, outside of just standard. So having a foil one of these is really nice because people like to pimp out their decks, and this card can get a little expensive. So there you go. Behind Harsh Mentor, we have an island, not full art, but still an island, and an Aven Initiate. So we'll come back to all that stuff later when we're talking about building our deck, but we move on to a Curator of Mysteries pack. We start with the Minotaur Sure Shot. Not bad if you're trying to do flying hate. Anointer Priest, Top Crop Skirmisher, so 2 Embalms in a row for the white... Oh, 3 Embalms in a row for the white-blue Embalm deck. We have a Sacred Cat. We have an Initiate's Companion. We have a Pitiless Vizier for cycle and discard. Trespasser's Curse for if you want to put this in your deck because it's a trap. I would almost never play this card. I see no reason to. Final Reward, on the other hand, I will absolutely play. It's a little splashable if we get a bunch of them, but otherwise with one, I don't know. We haven't seen a lot of amazing black cards yet, but yeah, Final Reward is great. We did see the Bone Picker earlier, I guess. But Final Reward is a great removal spell and a great black common. Evolving Wilds to help us splash if we need to. Cartouche of Strength is an amazing cartouche. We have some good green and Aronis' Monument, so Cartouche of Strength might make the cut. It's an amazing cartouche, if not the best cartouche. We have the Flameblade Adept as our first uncommon. Labyrinth Guardian is the second for more Embalm. We've seen a lot of Embalm. And a Shafet Monitor. So this is a cycler that also can ramp you if you cycle it, or it's just a big beefy 6/5. So that's not bad either. That can help if we're splashing, if we're doing 2 or 3 colors, regardless. Here's a Shafet Monitor, and our rare or mythic is an Approach of the Second Sun. Speaking of splashable, this card's great. You put this in a deck with a lot of cycling, you put it in a deck with a lot of card draw, and you probably... Oh, you almost can't lose, especially, again, in a sealed format like pre-release. In draft, it's a little bit tougher, but it's still doable. But Approach of the Second Sun is just inevitability. It gains you 7 life, so you can wait a little bit more to get to that point. Card's amazing, and again, like I said, very splashable, if not just if it's one of your main colors. But here's Approach of the Second Sun. Behind that, just a Plains, again, not full art, and a Punch-Out token card, which we can use later on if we need it. So Approach of the Second Sun was a nice pull. Again, we still have a foil Harsh Mentor, which is definitely the most valuable thing we've opened. But if we're talking about making decks, Harsh Mentor actually probably is not what we want to see, although still, you want to see it. It was in the foil slot, so it didn't take up anything else. We have another Anointer Priest, so more Embalm. Hieroglyphic Illumination, so again, I talked about drawing cards and or cycling. That's exactly what this is doing for you. Another cartouche in the red cartouche of Zeal. A Spidery Grasp. Not a bad combat trick. I actually was able to take down a Glorybringer with this on a Hyena pack, but otherwise, I mean, it's kind of like your 22nd, 23rd card or sideboard. Here's a Blighted Bat. So we talked about looking for some good black. Gust Walker is a great white card if we're playing Approach of the Second Sun. We have a Blazing Volley. This card is sideboard at best, in my opinion. Top Crop Elite is amazing. Floodwaters is expensive, but a good bounce spell. It can, if it's late game and you have 6 mana, you bounce their only 2 blockers or their best 2 blockers and kill them, or you cycle it if you get it early. This card's really good. Gift of Paradise, again, if we're ramping, if we are... if we're trying to fix our mana. Okay, first uncommon is a Wayward Servant. We haven't seen a lot of zombie synergy, but if we do, we still have 3 more packs left, so this guy's not bad if that works out. And again, Approach of the Second Sun, so we might be white. So here's Wayward Servant. We have another Flameblade Adept. That is the second Flameblade Adept. So there is cycle, there is discard. That's a thing. I don't know that this card's amazing, but something to realize that we now have 2 of this particular uncommon. And a Merciless Javelineer. So again, Minotaurs, red, black. It's possible discarding. This is a kind of a discard outlet and a mana sink later on, and you get -1/-1 counters on stuff, and they can't block, which is also relevant. And our rare or mythic is another white card, Glorybound Initiate. That's 3 rare or mythics and 3 at least part white. because the first one was Prepare to Fight, which was half white. So if you're looking just at rares, it looks like we're playing white. Plus, we've seen a lot of Embalm, so it's definitely a possibility. Glorybound Initiate is really, really good. It's Exert, so you're maybe looking at trying to untap it, maybe with some green, stuff like that. But Glorybound Initiate, in and of itself, becoming a 4/4 lifelinker, that's pretty hard to deal with. Again, it's every other turn because it's exerting, but still. Behind the Glorybound Initiate, we have another Plains and another token with little punch-out stuff. So, again, Exerted, Embalm, things like that. We'll leave that on the side. We have 3 more packs left. We are halfway through, like I said. I will talk about what I think for what this deck could be. If you disagree with me, or if you think other cards should be in there, maybe take one card out, put another card in, always leave them in the comments below. Leave your opinions down below. We have a Minotaur Sure Shot. We have a Jeru's Resolve, a Heckma Sentinels, a Nimbleblade Kenra with Prowess. We have a Scarab Feast, which, again, is another one of these. It's not really that good. If they have a lot of Embalm, if they have a lot of Aftermath, maybe you want this, but otherwise this, even though it has Cycling, is probably just a sideboard card, even if you're in the Cycling deck. Ornery Kudu works best in the -1/-1 counter deck, but is still a 3/4 for 3, or if you have nothing else out, a 2/3 for 3, which is not the worst. Dissenter's Deliverance is another one of those where there are not a lot of artifacts in this block. If you want to destroy a monument, sure, congrats, but otherwise it's sideboard, in my opinion, again, sideboard, even though it has Cycling. Another Cartouche of Strength. Yeah, I mean, we're probably white-green. Prepare to Fight kind of led us there, but it's just, we're just getting amazing stuff in white and green. Hyena Pack, not terrible in sealed. Impeccable Timing, it might make your 23 if you're low on other things. It's not amazing, because if they're attacking with a 4/4 and you have this, you feel bad, even because you still have to block, and that's not the best. But here's Impeccable Timing. It is a possibility. Speaking of good green, we have a Watchful Naga for our first uncommon in this pack. Speaking of good green, we have a Crocodile of the Crossing. Again, yes, it wants to be in the -1/-1 counter deck, but it's also just an amazing card. So here's Crocodile of the Crossing. And another Seraph of the Suns. So again, white. This is our second Seraph of the Suns. It's a little expensive, but again, if we're trying to do Approach of the second Sun as well, this is an amazing blocker to prevent us from dying before the card comes down again. So our rare or mythic is an Aven Mind Sensor. This card is better in Constructed, I think, because people are more likely to be searching their library for things that are relevant. Do you really want to use this on your opponent's Evolving Wilds? I don't think so. It's a 2/1 flyer for 3, which is fine. You can flash it in at the end of their turn, so they're not expecting it, but still, it's okay. I don't know that it's amazing. I think we have something else in this pack. Behind it, we have... Oh, okay. It's a Full Art Plains. That's not terrible, especially for value. It's clearly not something amazing for the deck, but... and a Zombie token. But again, with the Aven Mind Sensor, whether it's good or not, it is yet again a white rare. Yeah, I think the kit itself is telling us what way to go. I think if we don't play white, we have to have something amazing besides it. So, speaking of white, here's the Sacred Cat with Embalm and Lifelink. A Brute Strength. A white Cartouche in the Cartouche of Solidarity. We don't have any trials yet, which is unfortunate because now we have 3 Cartouches in 2 different colors, or 4 in 3 because we have the Zeal, the red one as well. As I was just talking about. So now we have the blue one as well. Cartouche of Knowledge. A Festering Mummy. A Shed Weakness for a combat trick and -1/-1 synergies. Evolving Wilds again. Impeccable Timing again, a Hyena Pack again, a Horror of the Broken Lands, so if we're looking for cycling, if we're splashing black somehow, or if we're in black for whatever reason, here's a Horror of the Broken Lands. This card's great. a Hazoret's Monument. So we have a second monument. This one's the red one. We haven't really seen amazing red cards, but it's our second monument so far, and it's our first uncommon. Baleful Amonkhet. I love this card. It's possibly my favorite card in the set, just because of how cool it is. It's a Crocodile demon. It does amazing things. It's a life linker. I still don't know that it's making our deck though, just because of this kit. I don't think it works. But Baleful Amonkhet's great, and that's our second uncommon. And then Watchers of the Dead. I don't think this card's good at all. Okay, and our rare or mythic in this pack is a Liliana's Mastery. We haven't gotten a lot of zombie synergies, although I know we got the Wayward Servant, and that cares about zombies as well. This is our first non-white rare. Obviously not counting the Harsh Mentor, because that was foil. But yeah, it's possible that we play this, but this is not the kind of card where you're like, this is amazing, we have to play it, because it gives you 2 3/3s for 5. Which again is not terrible, but it's not amazing by any means. And if we're not synergistic with zombies, it's not the best. So here's Liliana's Mastery. Maybe we play it, maybe we don't. We have a Forest and an ad card. We have one pack left. It's Amonkhet-Pre, who is the god of the color that we are most likely in, because we've opened all but one rare in that color. Let's see what we get out of this last pack. This deck may just build itself. We'll see. Essence Scatter, Desert Celadon, Forsake the Worldly, Seeker of Insight, Unburden for cycling. Pouncing Cheetah is actually really good. I've heard a lot of people saying that they're not a big fan. I used Pouncing Cheetah, or I would use Pouncing Cheetah, to flash in as a 3/2 and just block and kill something. Maybe I flash it in at the end of their turn if they didn't play something, and I kept it up so that I could then attack for 3 the next turn. But still, people play around Pouncing Cheetah if they know you have it. So it's definitely a good thing to have to surprise them at least once, and then just have them always thinking that you have it if you leave up 3, so, or more. Another impeccable timing. That's 3. That might be worth it. It's a little low cost, and we're looking at some high drop stuff with Approach of the Second Sun and 2 of the Seraph of the Suns. So maybe for low drop stuff, we have these. You can double up on something big. So we have a Luxor River Shrine. This card is unplayable in my opinion, even in sealed. Another Horror of the Broken Lands. I still don't think we're in cycle or discard, but if we are, this card's definitely going in. A third Evolving Wilds. If we really want to splash, we have it. This is great. I think we had a Gift of Paradise as well. I could be wrong. And Onward to Victory is our first uncommon. If we're white, we could use this half. If we're not red and we don't have a way to get it in our graveyard, that's a problem. But giving something double strike with the white is not bad. So that's Onward to Victory. Speaking of white, we have a Vizier of Remedies. I don't know that this card makes your main deck if you're not playing against a -1/-1 counter deck. It's just a 2/1 for 2, which isn't amazing, but it's definitely an amazing sideboard card against that strategy. And a Decimator Beetle. Speaking of the -1/-1 counter strategy, this card's amazing and definitely what you want to be doing for that. Although, again, in this kit, I don't know. It's actually getting a little bit closer, but let's see what our last rare or mythic is, unless we have another foil. It is Cruel Reality. So if we're looking at high drop stuff, maybe we're doing black-white because we have Liliana's Mastery as well, and then otherwise all white for our rare or mythic, except for the fight half of Prepare to Fight. But Cruel Reality is great. This is another card like Approach of the Second Sun, where you play it down and you almost definitively win unless you were so far behind that they're just going to kill you next turn anyway. So here's Cruel Reality. You know what the problem here is? We did not get a single Naga Vitalist, at least not that I remember. Maybe we'll look back through. If you want to be ramping up to playing 6 and 7 drop spells, you kind of want to be able to actually ramp, and Evolving Wilds is a 1-for-1 replacement. It thins out your deck, but it doesn't really get you a lot of extra lands, so that's a little bit tougher. But here's Cruel Reality. This card's amazing, and it's a mythic. It's the first mythic of the kit, and if you can play it, it's fantastic. I just don't know that we can. But anyway, behind Cruel Reality, just a Mountain and an Anointer Priest. So let's see what we have here. Like I showed you, we have 2 black rares slash mythics with Liliana's Mastery and Cruel Reality, and otherwise not counting the Harsh Mentor, which again I think is more for constructed than for limited, so I'll leave it on the side. We have 4 at least part white rares and mythics. Aven Mind Sensor, Glorybound Initiate, Approach of the Second Sun, and Prepare to Fight. Let me zoom out so you guys can see everything that's going on here. That's the wrong way. There we go. So we have all of these, right? These are kind of your bread and butter when you're making your decks. You want to be looking at the rares and mythics to see if they point you in a specific direction. I think this points us in a pretty clear direction. Now, the don't get trapped. If you don't have the support for these in the colors that you have in your commons and uncommons, that's what will lose you a tournament, is if you're like, well, these are my rares, I'm in this color, and then you throw in every card you see of that color. I talked about this Vizier of Remedies. I don't think it's good enough for main deck, so I probably wouldn't play it main deck, even though it's a white uncommon, so you'd think, well, if I'm in white, I'm playing it. I don't think that's true. So don't put yourself into that box. Seraph of the Suns, also not a bad card, but it's a 7 mana 4/4 flying indestructible. If you want to play them, that's fine. But if you're also playing Cruel Reality at 7, and Approach of the Second Sun at 7, and another Seraph of the Suns at 7, realize what you're doing to your mana here. And again, realize that you don't have, I don't think we have any Naga Vitalists. So, going back through, like I said, we have Pouncing Cheetah, Shed Weakness, Cartouche. We still have double green Cartouche. That's really important. Here's a Gift of Paradise. This is, I think, the only ramp that we really have. Evolving Wilds is more fixing. Gift of Paradise is both fixing and ramp. We have an Initiate's Companion in green. We do not have a lot of green. Greater Sandworm is nice, but it's another 7-drop. This is interesting. Our white in our common slot is kind of mono impeccable timing. We have Forsake the Worldly, which you could argue putting it in your deck because there are cartouches, there are trials, and there are monuments, as opposed to just monuments if you were only talking about artifacts. This exiles an artifact or an enchantment. You could put it in there because it has cycling, so if they don't play anything, you just cycle it. It's not a good feeling to have to do that. We do have the Cartouche of Solidarity. We did not get a single trial. We have Sacred Cat, our 3rd impeccable timing. We have a Jeru's Resolve, which is not bad, but it's definitely not something that you're like Windmill Slam, put it in your deck no matter what. Takrop Elite is really good. You do want to be dealing damage to your opponent, although if you're trying to just win with Approach, then Takrop Elite's probably not the best because you don't want to be exerting. You're going to need to be leaving blockers back. Same thing with Gustwalker. Gustwalker's good if you're attacking. Takrop Elite, same thing. Anointer Priest is good. Gaining you life to keep your life total a little bit higher is not bad, but you need the token synergy to actually be able to gain life. A 1/3 for 2 is not a bad blocker early on, so that's something to definitely consider. You have another Sacred Cat, another Anointer Priest, so 2 Anointer Priests is not bad. Unwavering Initiate is a 3/2 Vigilance with Embalm. So the Embalm guys, the nice thing about them, again, if you're trying to approach, is they block, they die, they come back and block again, so that you can get to approach faster. The thing is, we don't have a lot of card draw. Here's another Forsake the Worldly. So that's an argument for Forsake the Worldly, right? It has cycling. You can cycle it to get to draw more cards to get closer to your approach, but that just means that your only win condition is approach. You have Glorybound Initiate, sure. You have Aven Mind Sensor, which is another rare. Like I said, I'm not super high on Aven Mind Sensor. The question really is, what's our second color? With 2 Cartouches of Strength, it very well may be green, but we don't have a lot of creatures in green. We have Ornery Kudu, we have the Greater Sandworm, and we have Initiate's Companion. So here's Initiate's Companion. Greater Sandworm was towards the beginning. That's not a lot of creatures for blocking, nor is it really a lot of spells, and Cartouche of Strength is good, but if you don't have a creature that's good enough to kill something of theirs that's relevant, even with +1/+1, it's not... I still think it's the best cartouche, but if you don't have creatures to back it up, turns out that none of the cartouches are good without creatures. So here's the Pouncing Cheetah. Again, you can flash that in at the end of their turn and then put a cartouche on it next turn so that it becomes a 4/3 and then you can fight something. So you could kill something with 4 or less toughness. But otherwise, we have no other green creatures. We have Decimator Beetle, which we could splash with Evolving Wilds if we really needed to, which would get us, things like Baleful Amonkhet. Crocodile of the Crossing is a great creature. Watchful Naga is also pretty good. Crocodile is clearly better to wear a cartouche than Watchful Naga, but Watchful Naga lets you draw cards, again, for approach. That's what you want to be doing. Shafet Monitor gets you lands. So if you need to thin out your library and or get more lands for your approaches and your Cruel Realities and things like that, and your Seraphs. I don't know. Bone Picker is a good uncommon. You really, at this point, I think, sure, we had 2 Flame-Blade Adepts, which is definitely something to at least consider, and you should definitely look at it. Nothing else in red stood out to us. There was this, but that's black-red, and we didn't have a lot of synergies in black-red onward, but we're not really aggressive because we don't have a lot of aggressive creatures. Again, Harsh Mentors here, but not really for sealed or for limited in general. I think this is much more a constructed card. Sure, I'm sure there are plenty of times, and I'm sure people will have stories of, oh, I had Harsh Mentor and I played it and my opponent tried to do all these things and it didn't work. If you have this out and your opponent tries to use Evolving Wilds, that's pretty awesome because they'll take 2 damage from just using an Evolving Wilds. But yeah, we're clearly white. We might also be black. We might also be green. And if we're green-black, Decimator Beetle is definitely there. Like I said, we have Baleful Amonkhet for -1/-1 counters. Again, to go with the Decimator Beetle. We have the Crocodile of the Crossing, which also works for that. Watchful Naga draws us cards to help with our approach. It's definitely looking like that's what we're doing. Unfortunately, that's 3 colors. But fortunately, first of all, our green creatures could cost 1 less with Ronus's Monument. But it pumps creatures and gives them trample. We're not really super aggressive. If we keep the black, we have Bone Picker, we have a final reward, and maybe we're with the white that we're using. Forsake the Worldly isn't something that you need. It's a good sideboard card, like I said. It does have cycling, so again, the argument is there for approach, but you kind of want to be ramping up to approach, so you're probably going to be cycling this to try to get more lands, which is not necessarily where you want to be with this, but you have to do it at some point. Unwavering Initiate's okay, but this really wants to be more attacking and... although, again, like I said, if it blocks and then it embalms, etc. So this is what we're working with, right? I think that we are white, green, and black. Unfortunately, at this point, I think white's our splash, which is fine when you consider the fact that most of the cards that we want in white are high drops. So we have most of the game to get to them. We have 2 Seraph of the Suns, 7 drops, which need double white, and 1 Approach of the Second Sun, which is 7 as well, which needs only a single white. Prepare is great, and it can give something lifelink, which means it's getting bigger, it's getting lifelink. And so when you block with it, which is kind of what you want to be doing, that's going to be your best bet. So that is my opinion. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do we have enough to make that work? Do we not? Do you think that my evaluations are wrong? I'm more than willing to hear opinions on, oh my god, how could you overlook the Flame-Blade Adepts? They're absolutely amazing, and you have a cycling synergy, because that's totally a possibility. But at this point, if I were making this deck, this is what I would do. As I said, I am definitely open to opinions, suggestions, etc. I am going to leave you looking at this Harsh Mentor, because I think for value, it's the most valuable thing that we opened, in my opinion. I haven't memorized card values, so feel free to check and let me know if I'm wrong. This has been me opening another pre-release kit. If you liked this, let me know. I have a couple more, and I'll probably do something similar. But yeah, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Like I said, I've been Joe. This is Geek for All, and as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.